are back from lunch. Nick a second to sit down. All right, the agenda for lunch had decision, adopt preliminary fiscal year 17 budget. In order to start working on the budget and adopt that as our starting place, we need to adopt it.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and adopt the preliminary budget for 2016-17.
Oh, second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the preliminary budget for fiscal year 17. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, thanks, Ann. So, 1:30, Corey Swanson, County Attorney, ongoing county issues, weekly update decision.
Well, I don't have much for you. I do notice that over lunch hour, the flag fell down behind us, so we'll fix that real fast. Must have got a gust of wind. Well, so commissioners, I only have two things that are, well, three, I guess, to give you an update. One would be, probably need to request a closed door meeting next week to give you an update on the Bodette lawsuit. And it's a pretty brief update, but I'd rather do that in closed session. Second, the Galzagori subdivision document request. Came back to find that we don't have all of our documents collected, so I'm gonna be going around to everybody this week and collecting all those. We're a little behind on getting those collected together to the folks who requested it, so just ask if, I think I've got yours, Commissioner, over, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And if, what I understand is there's a binder that all three commissioners got that's the same. So I just need one copy of the binder, so I've got your copy. But if you have any emails or notes or anything like that in addition, I could get those, preferably printed. I'd rather have them, because it's easier to kind of collect everything in one shot and look at all of it. And then what we'll do is we'll scan it all in one packet, and then we number it. It's called Bates numbering. You number every page. So I want to do all that as one great big collection before I give it to the attorneys who requested it. I haven't had a chance to meet with the planner to get hers and the planning board. So my goal is to have that done by the end of this week, review everything and ship it out before the end of August to the folks who requested that.
Can I ask some questions on that?
Yes.
And this is just past practice both with state agencies as well as here in the county, and then just some other commissioners' input on that. So when somebody, and we don't have a lawsuit against us yet, and it may not come, but anybody can sue the county at any time for any reason. We know that from Susan Swimley. So who's a land use attorney that we've used? So my question is in the past, when we've been sued, we have gotten everything we could to the county attorney to put together a defense for the county. But we haven't ever put together everything for the other side to use to sue against us. And so my question is shouldn't their attorneys, if they decide to sue us, either A, have to pay for the copies and our time, or B, come in and say, I want to see your file on Galzagori, open the file, and take out what they want and copy it. There's some folks who've come to see me and who I've talked to that have said, we shouldn't be putting together their lawsuit against us. And that's what they have said this looks like to them. And this is with a state agency too right now, which I'm not going to mention on the record, but there's a search for records and there's a charge. So where are we with all that?
We can charge for costs of copying, which we intend to do. Can't give an estimate until I get all the documents, but I know what that's gonna cost. So
Okay.
that's number one. Can't charge for time. The statute doesn't allow that. And in the past, state agencies, many state agencies, have charged for time. And in 2014, there was a lawsuit challenging that, and ultimately the state agency backed down because they realized that they were wrong to charge for time. For copying costs, yes, absolutely. I intend to do that.
Okay,
But that, I won't know what that cost is till I get all the documents. Secondly, right now what we have is a records request, which I view as in contemplation of litigation, which is why I sent to the litigation hold notice to all of you and to other county employees. So at this point on, once we have noticed that someone is seeking these documents, and they're doing it under the public records and open government provisions of the Montana Constitution, it's our obligation to give them all the documents. That's plain and simple. Does it matter if we're doing it to help them prepare a lawsuit? Yeah, they're looking at the documents in order to determine whether to sue us. And in the litigation world, there's no secrets. I mean, if this goes to lawsuit, I will have all their documents, they will have all of my documents, I will talk to all their witnesses, they will talk to all of my witnesses. And so it doesn't matter if someone thinks we're helping them prepare a case. What we're doing is we are responding to our constitutional obligation to give them all the documents that they requested. And all of these documents are public documents. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Haven't been able to get that done yet, but I anticipate we'll be able to get it done in the next few days. So there are two different ways to do this. Yes, we could say, we're not giving you any documents, you're gonna come here and look at all of them. Well, it's really counterproductive to do that. Because number one, then we have to, number one, schedule with them or be available on short notice to sit there in the office with them while they go through documents for hours, which is inconvenient for both of us. And secondly, I want to see all these documents so I know what it is we're giving them. And so I'm not going to run around everybody's office and say, can I sit down with you? I'm saying, give me all your documents, I'll go through all of them. I'll know what we're giving them, as well as they can review them and then come back if we find there's something missing or they want to ask questions or whatever. But the beginning of all of this has to be, we collect all the information we have and provide it. And there's no way around that, either through litigation, constitutional obligations, whatever. It's just the way it is. The other thing is, I need to see all these documents because there may be some communication that is, for whatever reason, not disclosable to them. It could be in the middle of, at the bottom of the string of an email. Someone asks about someone's kid's medical situation. So obviously that would be protected. So I need to be able to look at those in order to redact them and then tell them this is redacted because it has nothing to do with the lawsuit. It was private medical information that was inadvertently included in an email. I can't do that if I can't see the document. So that's what we have to do.
okay, and that is why I gave you all mine.
Yeah.
For you to
Right.
look, review, and if need be, set up a
Yeah.
defense for the county. Okay, thank you. And fully understanding that they're all publicly disclosable. Just those questions did
Right.
concern me, so, good, thank you.
Okay. Third thing is I got an email this morning, but it was a follow-up from a July message. As you recall, the Bureau of Land Management has we have a lease for a communication site on BLM land up by the Limestone Hills area. And for years that was rent-free lease because it was for public use. And then beginning in 2014, they began charging the county because they discovered that Montana Internet had a facility or had some infrastructure of some kind located within that site, and they're a private user, okay? So what happens with these BLM sites is every year we do an annual site survey. Someone official from our county goes up and surveys and says, these are the things we see of these, and then they send that in, because the BLM is not gonna, there are so many of these BLM's not gonna send their employees to thousands of them, but then they randomly do checkups. So in the course of them randomly checking this site appears to be 2014, they determined that the Montana Internet, private internet provider, had some infrastructure there, and so they sent us a bill for $2,500 for 2014, 2015, 2016. It's gone up slightly each year. So this was all last year. We went through a very long, unnecessarily drug out process before we finally, from the county, sent them the completed site survey for 2014 and then 2015. And apparently we paid the 2015 past due rental. We have not paid the 2014 or the 2016, which is currently due. So 2014 is $2,511.65. I'll say it again, $2,511.65. 2016 is $2,567.02. I don't have the 2015 amount that we paid. So I got this email in July. I asked the BLM representative, his name is Michael Wyatt, to provide me the total of what's due. And just this morning, he sent an email. And I did forward it to you, commissioners, and Debbie Kelly this morning. So I thought this was all done. I just want to find out if you're aware of why we didn't pay the 2014 rental and 2016 rental, and what we need to do to get this done. Mr. Wyatt did send in his email today, he did say that the county refused to pay the 2016 amount because they believe the owner of the facility, because they believe the customer should be billed rather than the owner. So what that means is, we pay the 2,500 amount, then we turn around and bill Montana Internet for that amount. That's what we should be doing each year. And that's what I understood that we did for 2015. So we still need to do that for 2016 and 2014, and it's a bill $5,000.
I thought there was some correspondence on it, that they were to bill Montana Internet themselves.
I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't know what to tell you on that.
Seems to me like Brenda got that squared around with them that time.
Well, I know what we did for the 2015 is we did pay it and then sent them a bill. I have no idea if Montana Internet paid it.
Then we get paid
Maybe
back?
they haven't paid it. But I talked quite a bit to the owner of Montana Internet. I can't recall his name right now. There is they're aware of the issue, and they can apply for an exemption from that rental amount if they can show that they're providing public service with it. And they say they are. They say they're providing it free to rural fire departments and to somebody else. I can't remember who else it is. So they're saying they qualify for the exemption under federal regulations. Problem is they have to apply for that exemption, and you can't go back and retroactively do it, which is why 2014 and 2015 were not going to be. We couldn't get those waived. They told me they were going to apply for a 2016 exemption, and either they didn't get it or I don't know what happened. But had they gotten that, we wouldn't have a bill in 2016.
So is that something they have to do every year then for exemption?
I don't know about that. I know they have to do it for each site, but I don't know if they have to do it every year. So what I would recommend is, does anyone know, did we get a bill from BLM?
No, in fact, my question, I have two of them, but one is, who refused to pay? Is it the county?
So I wrote back and asked them.
Okay, I think that would be important to know, because this commission hasn't seen anything. This is the first we've gotten. But in your conversations with Montana Internet 2 years ago, or yet last year, you were going to, I know you talked verbally, we understood that you were going to put together a legal letter because this had become a legal issue. The commission had been taken out of it. And part of that should have been, they're paying 2014, which I see isn't paid, and they did pay 15, and then 16 is new. Should there be a follow-up letter from you representing the county that says you better pay BLM this based on our conversations, however you want to word it? But then also, I'd like to get to the bottom of who at the county refused to pay.
Right, and I asked them that. I
Okay,
haven't heard back yet.
but maybe we need to communicate again, you need to communicate again with Montana Internet on the 2016, because this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, to them, to us, to BLM.
Right, and could we find out if we received the 2014, 2015 amount from Montana Internet?
Yeah, Debbie would have
It'd be
that.
about $5,000, a little over $5,000.
Debbie and Doug both would have records of that.
I guess
And 16.
what I want to do is get out of the BLM billing business, because I remember when this happened, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, that Brenda was the only person they would talk to. I mean, they wouldn't even talk to me without her sending them a letter saying that I could talk to them. And at that time, you had requested that other people be on this list of people that they could talk to. And I remember specifically, I don't know who it was, but one of the county commissioners was put on the, I think all the county commissioners were put on the able to correspond list. And so what I'd like to do is, I don't know if there's a lot of legal guidance that's needed on this. It's pretty straightforward. We've already dealt with it once. What I'd like to do is kind of hand this off to the executing person, whoever that is. Executioner.
The executioner.
So how do we do this? As I get the
Yeah,
rest
it
of
does.
as I get the rest of
She said it sounds really final.
Yes. Very fine.
I would like to put it back on you, since you built a relationship with Mick. It was a mess before, but that's just my opinion. I just think that since it started off that way, once we got the ability to communicate with BLM, that it needs to stay.
This is not lawyer stuff. I'll do this one, but what I'm saying is when we get this resolved, I want to hand it off to someone in the bill-paying property management world that's not the lawyer, so.
Except it was legal when it started.
I know,
Because
then we
it got
fixed
into
it,
being
and then
a big mess.
We fixed it, and then somehow in the process, we're not paying our bills.
But we haven't fixed it, because that's why we're sitting here today. We need to fix it, and then let's start new
All right.
and fresh.
I'll take one more whack at this.
All right.
Those are my only issues that I wanted to update you on. Well, I guess I'll give you one update. So we have filed 36 felonies so far this year. About 8 more in the investigation to be filed popper right now. We have 5 youth court, we have 4 youth in need of care. We've only had 2 mental commitment so far this year. So already this year, we're at what? If you go back and look at the past 20 years, we're already at what several of the years had for a total in the past 20 years. And the pace is not slowing down. So I just urge all of you to keep that in mind, and I invite all of you to come to Friday morning court sometime. Want to check it out. Oh, and go on a ride along. The sheriff is invited. In fact, I'm due to go on a ride along with them, but invited any of you to go on a ride along. I told them only if you can promise me some action. High-speed chase, shootout,
Be real careful
something
what
like
you
that.
ask.
Right, no kidding.
So, anyway, do you guys have anything for me?
I'm good.
Okay, I'll drive on with my stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, I do have one thing. Did you already talk about the policy for the commission just on paying bills?
I did not.
We talked about this in a meeting, and I think we need this. What it is, I only have one copy, practices and requirements for reimbursement of expenses. After the hoopla of the last, well, before you left, so the last couple of weeks then, what we need is, if there's a budget that's managed by 3 people, all 3 need to be aware of upcoming bills. So I'm requesting quarterly submittal of bills. So if there's mileage for January, submit it by March 1st, so that we can make sure we have the spending authority in the budget. again, to get to July or August with a $2,000 bill and 200 in the travel expenses, we really can't pay that till we have an amendment. Then it puts the whole budget off. Like now, today we finally got the amendment, which should have been done 2 months ago. We were supposed to close out the fiscal year in July. It's now, the second half of August. And then also, any reimbursements need to include a receipt that shows who paid, how much, and the date. It has to be a viable receipt. Otherwise, the public has every excuse to come screaming at us for why we're giving, especially commissioners and elected officials, money without a viable receipt. So if you would offer edits on this, I would like the commission to adopt that. It's pretty simple. It just keeps us clear with the community on what we're doing, and it keeps the commission from getting into, messes, and also allows us the ability to watch our own budget. We just cannot have surprises coming in August. And if there's a policy, everybody knows and is on the same page.
So what's the difference between a line item and a fund/object?
They're exactly the same, well, they're the same thing. The fund is kind of the whole thing, the whole fund, the general fund is the whole fund. And then inside that you have travel, which is object code 360. And that's also a line item.
So if you're to go over in a certain line item, when you have funding left in the actual budget, you can amend between budgets, or line items, sorry.
So, because I know that in ours, I would request payment through a certain line item, and often it would get paid through a different line item, and then there'd be a deficit here and a surplus here, and it's like, well, I'll do an amendment at the end of the year.
Right.
So long as that, which I resisted, and I said, fine, do whatever you need to do, but that was, I guess I would just say if that's a practice that everyone understands. So your quarters, you're not following fiscal year quarters?
It is fiscal year, I think it's through June 30th.
Well, these, you have calendar quarters. For
Oh.
Quarter 1, 2, 3, 4.
Whoops,
Do you
I would
wanna do
change that, yeah, fiscal year quarters. Momentary insanity.
Looks fine.
All right, I will bring that forward next week then, if that's good with the commission.
It is.
All right, thank you very much.
When I worked a little bit in state government, we had people that were very, very well versed in just controls, and there were controls requirements for budgets. And I mean, do we follow the same standard as state government, or what is that's a very broad question. We're supposed to, I mean, what's the story there?
I'll tell you a funny story that will kind of answer that. When we were working on the building project a couple months ago, we were talking about 18.3.403, I think, 18.2.403, which says that you cannot do something over 80,000 without Davis-Bacon, et cetera. And then we read it again after advertising, and it said you have to advertise in at least 2 different newspapers. Darn it, we only did it in the one that we thought was required. So I emailed Brian Hopkins, I said, Eek, we only advertised in one newspaper, what do I do? We were following 18.2.403, and his response was, first thing you do is get out of the state statutes, because they don't apply to you. Get back into Title VII. He said you did everything fine. We're different than state agencies, state government.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking in terms of some of their accounting standards.
Some
Folks I work
counties
with are
have
really
a
good,
chief
so.
administrative officer, and they're, you've met Eric Bryson, they're responsible for that. Counties that don't have that, it's the commissioners and the department heads and the federal electeds, working as a team.
Okay.
So,
Anything else?
Good.
Good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're all invited to court Friday morning.
oh, speaking of court, good, I'm glad you didn't leave yet, John Wright. I didn't get any
Yes.
responses to my suggestion would not do a 2-hour hearing with him during a commission meeting. I think it'll be a kangaroo court as it is.
Okay.
I do not think that that's wise during budget season to take 2 hours. So I requested the 8th of September, which is a Thursday, to do that. Are you guys good with that? Does that fly past the legal lines in any way?
I would recommend a no, because his criminal trial starts on the 13th, which is the next Tuesday, and it might get moved to the Monday. And so, at this point,
We had postponed till after his criminal trial, and then you had emailed and said, no, we need to do it anyway. Are we back to postponing till after the criminal trial?
yeah, since it's gone long enough, and the reason that we postponed is because after Commissioner Cortholz was brought in as a commissioner, I contacted him and said, we've got a third commissioner now, let's proceed, and he objected and complained and said he wouldn't participate. So I said, fine, let's just wait. So at this point, I'll know by the end of this week if we're going to trial on the 13th. The reason I say that is because there is another case ahead of him, but I don't expect it to go to trial. And yes, we have a conference this Friday, pre-trial conference this Friday. So what I would, if that goes, I would recommend we just put off the hearing and until after the criminal trial.
And
My observation would be the entire county did not have 2 hours for a hearing on the situation in the first place. Why would you grant him 2 hours?
Well, that's not what it was. It wasn't 2 hours of him standing up and speaking. It was 2 hours of time allocated to opening and each side, and questions and all that.
So I'm still saying we didn't give that much time to start with. I
Well,
think it was
of that 1
minutes.
hour, the 2 hours, 1 hour would be for me and people that are against it. I would just say that I would recommend put it off till after the trial at this point. If the trial gets bumped to October or November, then we may need to.
So if we do, say we put it off until after trial, what do we do when he shows up here not following the policy that's in place?
Just ask him to leave.
If he doesn't, call the sheriff?
Have him escorted out.
Okay. And the only reason why I asked that question is, because it's very plausible for it to happen.
I agree. Well, I think the next 3 weeks he's gonna be very agitated as the stress of the upcoming trial.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? I think we've covered all the mail. You guys did not remind me about Broadwater Ford.
That was my fault. And I read it
It's on
again
the
this
next
morning.
agenda.
I read it this morning, I was like, when I get it, I just briefly go
Oh,
over it, and
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it looks good. Totally forgot again.
Yeah,
So-
obviously I did too, so.
So I will definitely make sure that I see that on there.
Right, it's on there. Okay, so next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll probably have to do both days, because I think right now Tuesday is full from 2:30 to 5. And then Wednesday we'll have to pick up some budget work, if that's good with you guys.
Yep.
All right, interviews on Friday, and,
It's next Tuesday, Wednesday,
30th and 31st.
and I think that's it. So, last call for public comment, or anything else for the good of the order?
So the second, we're having the interviews. Correct?
On this Friday, right?
Oh, this Friday?
Yeah, the 26th?
Yep.
Yeah. And I haven't seen the schedule, and then we'll have to do the other 3 the next week, so, any date, do you wanna do the second on that, or does another date work?
Second would be fine.
Okay, we'll do the second half on the second. Request 8 AM, for that too? Okay, that way we have a chunk of the day.
What's the time on the 26th?
8.
8 AM.
And questions will be coming out. I'm gonna get a master list. This is not something for only one commissioner or two commissioners to weigh in, Franklin. I am officially requesting that you actually participate with us in this process, or don't. Buy-in, participation, or don't even show up. Is that fair? Will you participate with the rest of the commission with questions and the interview process?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. That's a matter of public record now. All right, anything else? It is 2:04, this meeting's adjourned.
We have 3 o'clock Board of Health.
We do?
3
Yep.
o'clock Board of Health.